The winter 2025 anime season is just mere weeks away, and with it comes another, yes, 60 anime titles all fighting for your time. We have Bocchi the Ninja, the return of Mau Mau Faces, an entire anime about best girl tan girls, Go-Go Isekai Rangers, 52-year-old man gets isekai'd as a villainess, what will they think of next? More strands of hair, more, Chin booby physics, Studio Bine finally animates a show that won't be controversial, I think. I was reincarnated as a cat, and now I live my life between mounds. Generic boy band groups saved my life. Totally wholesome snacking. Campfire cooking in another world, now with excavators. Finally, a show following the real stars of fantasy series, the Guild Receptionist. The Chad that bagged not only the daughter, but the mother is back. Fairy tale artists makes more fairy tale clones. More band girls with first world problems. And there you have it, everybody. A future OnlyFans girl. Mappa animates an anime about anime production. What could go wrong? Finally, an anime about adults. Being adults? Actual Yuri on Ice. Otaku Elf, if the elf wasn't a NEET. Vampire Michael Jackson. That and so much more, but like most anime seasons, yes, 99% of the anime fans can only watch probably 1% of it. So I'm here to give you the rundown of my picks of the most exciting shows coming around the corner. Kicking things off with the returning shows. Yes, of course, I am extremely excited for the return of 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You. This series is absolutely fantastic. I found the first season to be an absolute breath of fresh air. It's taken the whole concept of a guy with a harem, but it's actually almost him being forced to get with literally 100 girlfriends, but in actuality, each different girlfriend has their own stories, and there's a great little bond that actually comes from it. But of course, in the middle of all that stuff is just laugh out loud moments. This is one of those series where I'm like, it's gonna get old, right? It's gonna get old, right? At some point, it's gonna get old. At some point, there's gonna be too many girls, and it's gonna be too much of like, what does every single one of them think? And it hasn't done that yet. I hope the second season holds to it. I hope it stays fresh, but so far it has been an absolutely fantastic series. I love the character, Karane best girl, obviously, but I've been loving the characters, and I cannot wait to see more of them. Yes, Apothecary Diaries. My gosh, I am way too excited to see the return of Mau Mau. I absolutely love Mau Mau's character. I cannot wait to see what else she gets caught up in, and it's just been an absolutely fantastic series. Yes, the first season had a little bit brief moment where it was like, kind of cooling down for me, but man, it just kicked right back up towards the later part of it, and I just cannot wait for more. Solo Leveling, yes, I am excited to see the return of Solo Leveling. I find the series to be very entertaining. While it's not like the most groundbreaking stuff here, I do have my problems with the story and the characters overall, but it's been an enjoyable ride. Plus, with this next coming season, an absolute banger of an OP they've released for it, and I cannot wait to hear the whole thing of it. It's just a really fun little series, just a cool little action series that's, yes, very beautifully animated. Yes, Ishura, I am really excited to see the return of Ishura. I actually enjoyed the first season. It's very brutal. It's kind of in the same vein as something like a Fate Zero or something like that, where you have a bunch of people with powers and they clash swords and somebody dies in the end. And I was actually really enjoying some of the character drama and the backstories with each of the characters. So I'm really excited to see it come back, and hopefully we get more Kia. There's no Kia in the PV, and I'm kind of upset about that, but I'm sure she's still there. But I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Yes, I'm still excited for Dr. Stone. We're getting a return of Dr. Stone. I think it's going into its final season, so I'm excited to see where it concludes. Yes, I admit that the Dr. Stone series has kind of started, especially last season, started kind of cooling down for me, but I always find it entertaining. Like, there's just something about it that always ends up grabbing my attention, and I'm always entertained every single episode, so I'm excited to see that come back. I'm excited to see the return of My Happy Marriage. I really enjoyed the first season. I felt like the later parts of the first season kind of got muddied a little bit there, but I do enjoy the characters. I enjoy the politics and whatever around them, the powers that Mio has, and how that's all going to play into the politics of the world, so we'll see where it goes from there. And finally, for the returners that I want to mention, yes, Bang Dream of Mujica. I am very mixed on the first season of Bang Dream It's My Go. I do enjoy some of the character stories, especially the main girl that was like very much so, an introvert. I really enjoyed her story. But yes, I cringe at the melodrama. So hopefully the second season isn't as melodrama. It probably is. I think it's just its flavor. Its flavor is to be melodrama. But I am interested to see this particular group and seeing more into what drives the characters and everything. So we'll see. We'll see. With the returners out of the way, you've all heard about those shows. You're excited for it or you're not. You're either into it or you're not. Let's get into the new offerings of the winter 2025 anime season. We have a whole bunch of new titles coming up, and it's probably going to be a question mark as if if it's something that you want to check out or not. So I've gone through the entire list. I've checked who's working behind it, who's the creators and whatnot, to find my picks. The picks that actually have me excited for the coming season. So let's dive into it. For my first pick, this is probably one of my most anticipated shows of the coming season. It's really around who is actually behind the series itself. Yes, the initial impression that I got was, oh, a new show by Studio Bind. I love Onimai. I love Mushoku Tensei. What do they have next? Okay, a not controversial show. That's fine. That's fine. But it just looked like a basic slice of life. And then I started looking at who actually created this series. But yes, this is Flower and Asura. It's a coming-of-age tale set on Tonaro Island, a small island with a population of 600 people. In this setting, Hana is a first-year high school student who loves to recite works of literature aloud. One day, she is invited by a second-year student, Mizuki, to join the school's broadcasting club, because Mizuki believes that Hana's reading has the power to attract people's attention. Now, like I said before, the initial grab was, yes, Studio Bind. I really like a lot of what Studio Bind does, so there's a feeling there that they're going to do something really interesting with it. I think what they did with Onimai itself was actually really incredible. But again, until I actually looked at who was the creator behind it, that's what actually piqued my interest. Yes, Ayano Takeda. Yes, the creator behind Sound Euphonium. I absolutely love Sound Euphonium. So when you have this whole idea of doing a slice of life, Studio Bind's working on it, and then you have literally the creator of Sound Euphonium, you got my attention. You have my attention. And I'm extremely excited for this show ever since I learned that that was the case. Yes, it doesn't look like the PV so far is showing like some crazy Studio Bind stuff, and yes, Studio Bind isn't always going to turn out amazing animation. We've seen that with Mushoku Tensei Second Season Part 1. But there is a few really creative uses of art design and whatnot in the PV already, and it really has me excited for what they can end up doing with this, and with the creative writing of Takeda, I'm really anticipating to see where the story goes. Easily, probably of this entire list, my most anticipated of the winter season. For next one, yes, obviously, this has to be in the list. Sakamoto Days. Ever since I seen the initial announcement PV for Sakamoto Days, I was immediately invested. It looked like it was going to be a lot of fun. When Sakamoto meets Aoi, the convenience store clerk, it's love at first sight. And just like that, he retires. Sakamoto gets married, has a daughter, opens a mom and pop store in the quiet town, and completely transforms into a plus-size man. To ensure a peaceful life with his beloved family, the legendary ex-hitman bands together with comrades to face off against the looming threat of assassins. This is being done by TMS Entertainment based on a manga. The director that's working on it is Masaki Watanabe, which they worked on Kato, The Right Answer, and Bartender. I thought Kato was an actually really incredible show, and I think the directing work they did on it was really great. I know a lot of people had a problem with the CGI, but I think they did a really incredible job with it, so that's a really nice thing to see there. Also, we have music from the guy that worked on Arc Knights and My Hero Academia, so we're going to have some really bumping music with it as well. Everything seems to be lining up. This could be a really good adaptation. The PVs already look like a lot of fun. Yes, I made the whole joke about the idea of doing like the chin buoy physics. Kind of reminds me of High School of the Dead. But so far, the PV looks like it's just going to be fun. It's just going to be a lot of fun. It's got that little down-to-earthness there as well, kind of like a Spy Family or something like that. Everything is lining up to this being a really fun little ride, and I've heard a lot of really good things about the source material, so it's definitely way up there on my anticipated. Next we have, yes, Rie Takahashi show. We have a Rie Takahashi show. I may be a guild receptionist, but I'll solo any boss to clock out on time. I personally absolutely love the guild receptionists in pretty much every fantasy show. It's typically the character that's always off to the side where I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so cute. I like their character. They got that. Most of the time they're very timid or whatever. I usually always like the guild receptionist. So to finally get a show that's about them is great. Alina Clover signed up to be a receptionist of the Adventure Guild, thinking it would be her ticket to a good life, stable pay, regular hours, and safe workplace environment. Unfortunately, her dream gig turns out to be a nightmare with endless paperwork and overtime whenever the adventurers she helps coordinate get stuck in clearing a dungeon. But people aren't made to grind forever, so Alina sneaks off at night to give the monsters holding up things a beatdown, courtesy of her massive warhammer. Keeping this all under wraps in order to avoid violating her office's ban on second jobs is difficult, especially when her tales of her exploits start to spread. But Alina somehow manages to keep her identity safe, until the leader of the strongest party in the guild catches her defeating a boss one fateful night. Does Alina have what it takes to stop her life from going topsy-turvy? It looks great, and yes, like I said before, Rie Takahashi voicing the main character. I always love her voice. She got a massive hammer. I always have a thing for girls with massive weapons, so it's got everything kind of lining up for it. I'm a little bit disappointed in the fact that it's Cloverworks working on it, and yet it doesn't look to the snuff of Cloverworks, so I almost wonder if this is sort of a a side gig they're doing, just kind of just turning it out. It doesn't look like Cloverworks. Cloverworks is typically turning out some really incredible stuff. So hopefully the PV isn't indicative to the entire series, a lot of CGI and whatnot, but we'll have to wait and see. For my next one I have is Grisaia Phantom Trigger. Now, I am kind of mixed when it comes to my like and dislikes of Fruit of Grisaia. I absolutely love the character designs of Akio Watanabe. I love a lot of the characters, their personalities, but there's always the difficulty in the backstories. A lot of the backstories are extremely tragic or extremely brutal, and from what I'm hearing, it's going to be the same for Phantom Trigger. So this is kind of one of those series where you love and you hate at the same time. The gut-wrenching cases that these characters go through is always hard to watch. Several years after the Fruit of Grisaia, what was once Mihama Academy, a sanctuary for young girls, has now been transformed into SWORD, Special Organization for Research and Development, a training school dedicated to fostering talent for national defense. Rena and Maki specialize in firearms. Toka and Gumi excel at sniping. Chris handles explosives and data processing. And Murasaki is a skilled ninja for intelligent operations. Together they take on cases too complex for the police and the self-defense forces, repeatedly facing dangerous missions. This is a story of these young girls, painted in blood and gunpowder. Again, based on my experiences with Grisaia, that's pretty on point there. A bunch of girls with weapons and some crazy dark backstories. Just covered in blood and just extremely difficult to get through. But again, I'm excited to see it come around. I completely missed the whole visual novel when that came out, so I'll be excited to see how the adaptation goes. Bibury Animation Studio pretty much handles all the stuff around Front Wing, if I remember correctly, so we'll see how they handle this series. So far, with the PVs, it looks really good, so I'm excited to see it. For my next one, this one, I'm going to honestly say that I am going to put a massive, cautious, optimistic to it. I'm cautiously optimistic for it, and there's a main reason for that, and that is ZENSHU. After graduating from high school, Natsuko Hirose starts her career as an animator. Her talents quickly flourish, and she makes her debut as a director in no time. Her first anime becomes a massive hit, sparking a social phenomenon and earning her recognition as an up-and-coming genius director. Her next project is set to be a romantic comedy movie themed around first love. However, having never been in love herself, Natsuko struggles to understand the concept of first love, and as a result, she's unable to create the storyboard, causing the movie production to come to a standstill. That sounds familiar. Yes, for those that don't know, this is a series that is going to be animated by Studio MAPPA, and that raises some massive flags there. Now, I want to be perfectly clear. It's just MAPPA animating it. It's not like they're in the production or anything like that. This is somebody else's work that they're animating. But it does make you kind of wonder, how can a studio like MAPPA possibly do a series about literally the production of anime? Because it's probably going to be filled with people sleeping under their desks all the time. But we'll see. Now, yes, like I said earlier, the main reason why I'm extremely cautious about this series, even though I love series like Shirobako and I always love that insight into the production of anime itself, I'm not sure about the writer. The writer is the massive, massive pause that I have for this show overall. Yes, Kimiko Ueno. Now, for those who don't know who that is, they're only works that they have done themselves where they didn't do a script work or something for somebody else's project, something that they worked on themselves, that they're actually appointed as the creator. Eden, which was okay. Eden was okay. But yes, the other one is Yurideko. I did not like Yurideko at all. It was extremely boring. Although it had a really interesting premise initially, it just was extremely boring. So I don't know that I'm going to be excited for the overall writing of this series when I have a it's okay and a that was extremely boring. I'm not really sure if this person can really pull something off. But we'll see. Hopefully they have something wrote here that is extremely interesting and good to jump into. I'm not a massive fan of the whole like the hair in front of the face thing, like the horror stories and all that kind of stuff. So that whole joke is not really grabbing me at all. But it does look interesting. Based on the PV, it does look like it's going to have sort of a thing where she's kind of getting caught up into her old project and learning about love through the characters from that old project. So it keeps cutting over to this visual of her being in that anime and being with the characters and possibly learning love that way. Either way, I'm interested to see what it actually pulls off, and hopefully MAPPA has fun with it. For my next one, I love fantasy series. I love pure fantasy series, and I really, really love dark fantasy series, and Ubel Blatt looks like it possibly could be a really solid dark fantasy series. Rumors stir throughout the land. When the wielder of the black sword draws his dark blade, all who stand in its path are torn asunder. I'm going to butcher this beforehand. I do not know how to pronounce this. I don't care. Koinzel, the mysterious young boy who carries a black sword, undeniably wields it with exceptional skill. But can he be truly responsible for the bloody rumors? Pursued by the traitorous lances, 4 powerful warriors who are thought to have been defeated by the 7 heroes, the strength of the young swordsman will be tested to its limit. At battle's end, only the shocking truth of Koinzel's quest will stand above the corpses of his enemies. An epic fantasy of the greatest scales. Now, I have a few caveats with my excitement for this show. Like I said before, I love this kind of pure fantasy series, stuff like that, where it's not doing any isekai or something like that. It's not a comedy. It's just a full-on dark fantasy, blood spill and everything like that. I love that kind of stuff. My only thing that has me pause for this series so far is the studio isn't the greatest. The PVs already look like they're kind of rough. But additionally, I am assuming that a lot of the brutality that I'm seeing in the manga, because I kind of skimmed through the manga itself, it's extremely violent, extremely bloody, and yes, extremely adult manga. And I'm pretty sure that none of that's going to get covered in the anime adaptation. I'm pretty sure it's going to keep very clean and whatnot. And that's my only, I'm not sure if I want to experience the story in the anime adaptation, because I feel like a lot of that gore and that ecchi and this very adult stuff is going to get skipped. But we'll see. We'll see if it ends up being kind of held back a lot, or if it's going to be as brutal as the manga looks like it is. The next one I have is Medalist. I've been excited about this show ever since I heard that it was getting an anime adaptation, kind of in the same vein as something like a Yuri on Ice figure skating type of series. Tsukasa, whose dreams were crushed. Inori, left to fend for herself. These two share a dream, and the tenacity may be the only thing that sees them through. Their destination? The ice, on the world's stage. It's a very simple synopsis there. But basically from the PV, it looks like this guy basically finds this girl who's a figure skater and starts to get her into the world of figure skating, and a bunch of different competing girls are all competing against each other. That kind of stuff. It's being done by NGI, which is a decent studio. Obviously, yes, it already looks like based on the PV, they're using a lot of CGI. The CGI doesn't look too bad, so hopefully that's not just all the good cuts and the rest of the CGI looks really bad. But we'll have to see. I'm very intrigued by the fact that, at least on a lot of the sites that I'm seeing, it's listed as psychological, so I'm guessing it might actually get into a lot of character drama and what they're going through, which is definitely piquing my interest as well. But overall, it looks really solid. The characters look great. I'm very curious to see what kind of issues they get into with the characters themselves. Yes, I'm not going to go this entire list without talking about Okitsura. Okitsura is definitely a series that I'm extremely excited for. Teruaki Nakamura transferred to a school in Okinawa and developed a crush on a girl named Kion-san. But I don't understand her dialect. Higa-san is always helping me by translating the dialect. A slightly different cultural love starts on the southern island. Yes, this is the Tan Girl Best Girls show. It's like, it looks like literally a show about Nagatora or something like that. Just a bunch of cute tan girls, the guy stuck in the middle of it and everything. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It does look like it's playing heavily on the cultural shock itself. This idea of this guy transferring probably from Tokyo or something like that down to this other area. Everybody's excited to see some person from the big city. At the same time, he's having difficulty, understanding their dialect. And of course, he's getting stuck into all the weird cultural stuff that they have there. That stuff looks fun, and it could be interesting. My only problem with this show, and I hate this so much as I was super excited the moment that I seen the PVs and the art for this series, is yes, the studio, Milipenzi. I hate Milipenzi. Like, it is literally like the worst studio out right now, because everything they touch, they destroy. Everything they touch is butchered. They butchered Spider So What? They butchered Cheat Skill, if you could possibly butcher that even more than it already is. They butchered Copcraft. Everything they touch is just blah. Yes, and even Berserk Season 2. Yes, the CGI Berserk. That's Milipenzi. It's the same directors. They have the same directors work on pretty much everything. So I'm assuming this will probably get ruined just like everything else. Based on the PV, it barely looks like it's moving. So I'm going to assume it's just going to be the art style and hopefully some really good writing that's going to be carrying this. It was sort of the case with Spider So What. As much as I hated the adaptation itself, the story and everything was really gripping me. Either way, I'm still excited for it. More Tan Girl, Best Girl. Moving on to my next one, I'm getting married to a girl I hate in my class. High school student Saito Hojo has married his classmate Akane Sakuramori, the girl who is his biggest rival at school. The two can't seem to get along with each other, but their heart-pounding newlywed life is about to begin. It's funny because this is one of those shows where the initial impressions from the synopsis and the PV is like, Shrug. Like, I immediately see, like, oh, guy that gets stuck with marrying a girl, and they constantly bicker at each other until eventually Doki Dokis happen and they realize they really like each other. Shrug. But it's definitely one of those shows where, as I keep seeing more PVs coming out for this series, I immediately do, like, the usual, oh, so there's these characters. It's always end up being like the side characters that grab my attention and go, okay, I like this character. Okay, this character's really mischievous. I like this character. It really does feel like this might be one of those shows that's going to be carried by the side cast. All these other girls that are going to be involved that obviously are not going to win his heart because this is the cover girl. He's already married. He's already engaged with her. They're going to get married anyways. The other girls are just there to get their heart broken eventually. But overall, it looks decent, and I'm definitely excited for it. And finally, my last show that I want to get into is a show that I had no interest in. And then I read the synopsis and I'm like, okay, this can kind of work. Okay, this can kind of work. Yes, the OnlyFans show. Medaka Kuroiwa is impervious to my charms. Mona is the cutest girl in school, and she knows it. In fact, she worked hard to make her high school debut successful. But no matter what she does, she can't seem to catch the eye of the stone-cold stoic Medaka. But she's not about to give up easy. Medaka, on the other hand, has been raised at a temple and was told to never become close to women. Who will win in this heated battle of wills? That was kind of the grab I had at the very end. I watched the PV and I'm like, okay, there's this girl that's obviously full of herself. She just thinks that she's the most kawaii thing ever, and she constantly does super kawaii things in front of the guy, and he's just stone-faced, and then she gets really flustered and she badly wants to get with him. And then I read the synopsis and I'm like, okay, so at least it has a decent concept for why this guy doesn't seem to care about this extremely hot and cute girl that's constantly doing yan-yans in front of him. But still, I do have a little bit of a pause if I'm going to enjoy this show overall, just because it's going to really heavily rely on if I like the personality of Mona. To be perfectly honest, the idea of the girl who's in love with herself that thinks she's the cutest thing ever does make me a little difficult to like her. But we'll see. It's obviously probably going to weigh heavily on just the flusteredness that she gets into, the flusteredness that he has, and their hidden personalities, because it seems like he is, yes, truthfully inside going, holy crap, she's way too cute. So a lot of that can probably play off of it. We'll see how it plays out. It looks like it's going to be a pretty fun little ride. We'll see where it goes. But yes, other than that, I am definitely still excited for Beheneko, the behemoth guy that gets reincarnated as a cat and then lives with this girl that is an elf girl with big mounds. I will admit that nothing in the PV so far has really catch my attention besides just really hot girls and cute cat girls and all that kind of stuff. That stuff will probably be a lot of fun, but I don't really have much expectations outside of that. It really does kind of feel like a Inukai-san's dog kind of situation where guy gets stuck in really ecchi situations with hot girls while he's a cat. I am still excited to see Dr. Detective. I will admit the PV so far hasn't really sold me on the series so far, but it does have a premise there that I'm interested to see where it goes. Momentary Lily, yes, I know it's Gohan's, but I always actually really like the experimentation that Gohan's does. And Momentary Lily does have a lot of really cute characters and a lot of crazy action. Now, I'll admit, this recent PV they released of it looks like a muddied mess. It's that kind of action where it's just characters flipping in front of the screen while CGI backgrounds are flying all over the place. So it doesn't really give you a sense of what is actually happening, just that action's happening. But either way, I am excited to see it. It looks like it has a mixture of cute girls doing cute things, ecchi with crazy action. The only problem that I really have with it is that it has the same writers and directors involved with it, which they had for their previous projects, Handshakers and Project Scarred, which were both just absolutely blah. So hopefully they've gotten better at writing. I am also decently interested in the Red Ranger becomes an adventure in another world. It's an isekai where the guy is the Red Ranger. And when he gets isekai, he's still able to transform into the Red Ranger. And so that's very interesting. I'm curious to see how that plays out or if it's going to be kind of a throwaway show. Yes, I'm kind of cautiously excited about the I'm Living with an Otaku NEET Kunoichi. So far, based on the PVs, nothing is really grabbing my attention besides cute girls. I typically don't like the whole like Umaro-chan type of character where they're just a deadbeat neat girl that just wants to gorge themselves and play video games. But we'll see. They could possibly catch my attention. And yes, technically the joke there is that she looks like Bocchi. She looks like Bocchi. And yes, I'm decently excited for Can You Keep a Secret? It looks like a possibly an adult show with adult characters, an adult setting, an office setting that have a romance between them. I'm just kind of scared that it's going to be like a lot of these shows where it's like, hey, look, it's actually adult characters in a romance relationship, and they end up acting like they're in middle school. We'll see. We'll see. Some of the shots in the PV looks like it's showing pretty much way late in the series, which is looking like stuff actually happens. We'll see. We'll see, but I'm excited to see where it goes. And that's it. That's my most anticipated shows of the winter 2025 anime season. Hope you guys enjoyed this list as always. If you did, make sure to hit the like button down below. Comment, let me know what you're most anticipating for the winter 2025 anime season. If you guys want a full rundown of the entire winter season that's coming up, I will be doing a podcast where we'll be covering every single show of the coming season. So definitely keep an eye out for that. If you like this content and you want to support this content more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate what it does. And until next time, y'all take care.